Hey everyone, welcome. This is a spare of the moment live, so people will be coming in shortly. So we have another conviction in the federal government. We have someone who's very, very naughty. So let's just put up the news and.
Right out to Eric Schott. He's got the very latest. He's outside the courthouse. And they seem to be going on every one of these counts guilty. They've agreed on all of it.
John, guilty on all counts, 18 counts, bribery, extortion, obstruction of justice, wire fraud, conspiracy for honest theft of services. Robert Menendez, a New Jersey Democratic power, senior senator from the Garden State, former chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, a jury here moments ago deciding that, yes, he did sell his office. He sold the power of the Senate that he had in Washington, D.C. for $480,000 in cash bribes, as well as 13 gold bars found in his wife's closet, a Mercedes-Benz, and other lavish and expensive gifts, including dinners and jewelry and clothes, in order to sell his office and make money, corrupting his oath of office against the United States of America. The jury finding that he acted as a foreign agent of Egypt, as well as Qatar, as the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, interfering in U.S. foreign policy for his own personal benefit. It is one of the most stunning and devastating corruption cases that we have seen here in New York City in any recent time. A U.S. senator totally convicted on all counts. He faced 16, his two co-defendants, two businessmen who he also now, the jury says.
I know, right? I heard Mercedes-Benz are pieces of shit, by the way, Witchy. You know, just give us the gold bars. You know? So Bob Menendez, this little scuzz bucket weasel, has been convicted of all counts at his corruption trial just the other day. He was selling his office. He was convicted of bribery, among other charges. I knew the guy was a little scoundrel and a little crook, but I didn't understand at the time to what extent that of his corruption in office. So I guess they do hold some Democrats accountable for their actions, but it seems to be selective. You know, this is a rare event. So he was found guilty on all counts. So let's continue, shall we?
Illegally helped. Also,
10 hours of deliberation. Not bad.
Convicted. One of those businessmen obtained a license to sell halal exports to Egypt that corrupt, according to the jury, by Menendez. Of course, we made a lot has been made about those gold bars, earning him the nickname Gold Bar Bob. The defense tried to explain that it was really his wife's gold bars and not his, because they were found in his wife's closet, locked away, and illegally her house, not his house. They also claimed that the $480,000 could be explained because, in their words, it was a, quote, Cuban thing. The senator's family fled from Cuba when Fidel Castro took over, and his sister testified that they kept cash in the grandfather clock in their house because the police would come in and raid their home. The only problem with that is that Mr. Menendez was not born in Cuba. He was born here in New York City. So the jury obviously saw through that as a lie. In addition, the defense tried to show that he did not take any bribes or any payoffs, and what he was allegedly doing was for his constituents, the two businessmen. But the jury obviously disagreeing with that and saw.
Well, I'll disagree with that too. You know, who keeps their cash in a grandfather clock? Come on, this is the U.S. It isn't Cuba, for fuck's sakes. You know, unless you're trying to hide something from the cops, you know, during a search warrant, in case you get a search, in case you get your house raided, you know, you try to find the most creative hiding spots. Like if you're trying to hide drugs or something, you find the most creative hiding spots in your house. You hide your goods. But instead, it was cash, gold, what other evidence there was that the FBI decided found at Gold Bar Bob's house.
With the United States government in this devastating conviction and prosecution of a very powerful Democratic politician. Menendez is running for re-election as an independent. He did not as a Democrat. Democratic Congressman Andy Kim now running for election on the Democratic line.
So I didn't keep up with this guy, but he must have lost the primary or something. Like what's her name? Liz Cheney lost the primary in Wyoming because she did such a shitty job. She lost touch with the voters. So something must have happened like that, or they got sick of his lazy ass. So Bob Menendez, I know who he was because he was like he used to make comments to New York. How does this oh, that's a great idea. How does it benefit New Jersey or my pocketbook? You know, it was like his comments were kind of condescending. It was like, ew. This guy is insane.
And Menendez will face, from 20 years to potentially 200 years in prison if he is sentenced consecutively and not concurrently. Obviously, the thought would be he would be sentenced concurrently, so he could face 20 years in federal prison. As far as his wife, Nadine Menendez, her trial has been postponed indefinitely because she was charged. She is suffering from breast cancer. You know, there was some thought that the senator perhaps was emboldened after his acquittal in the last case.
Okay, she has cancer. Can't they treat her in federal prison for cancer? Well, why does she get special treatment? All right, I don't get this. You know? Oh yeah, that's right. She's her husband's a Democrat, so they're giving her special treatment. If her husband was a Republican, on the other hand, there'll be no mercy given. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy here, you know. So the Justice Department had no mercy for Trump. All right, I'm just going to say that they decided to abuse their office and decided to go after him on acidine charges. It's like, and things they couldn't really prove. I'm just going to say it like this, you know. The Constitution says high crimes and misdemeanors when you impeach someone, when you file articles of impeachment. All right. This is what the Constitution says. So in my mind, when I think of high crimes and misdemeanors, all right, I would think that Congress would have to meet a burden of proof that a sitting president, has violated a crime, and they meet the federal statute. But when I did my research, when I looked up the federal bribery statute, all right, the federal bribery statute, he didn't even meet it. So when you don't meet a particular statute, and the grand jury, it gets through the grand jury, which you probably can indict a ham sandwich through a grand jury because it's a one-way contest through the grand jury. And then it goes to a judge. it would probably be tossed. All right. I'm just being real here. Okay. I'm just being real. And so we got people in the Justice Department, not the Justice Department, excuse me, in New York, who abused their office. All right. We had Alvin Bragg, who decided to go after Trump. All right. Now we have this, which we have evidence. Okay. We apparently have evidence of corruption. You see the money there on the screen, hundreds of $100 bills. All right.
Case that happened in 2017, the corruption case, federal case, very similar to this one, in which he was acquitted on a hung jury. According to the prosecutors, this corrupt and illegal scheme started just a few months after that, in which he was dealing with the two New Jersey businessmen who are constituents, allegedly interfering with United States foreign policy on their behalf, also allegedly giving insider information.
So I think what the reporter's talking about is this happened in 2016, 2017. He was indicted the first time around. So his first trial ended in a hung jury. And they didn't retry him at first. All right. They didn't retry him. The federal government didn't retry him. And then they got more evidence. So they did. So here's their second round at him. So this is an old corruption case that just had to take its course. So he went to trial the first time, hung jury. So the U.S. Attorney's Office decided, all right, we're going to take our time on this. We're going to wait for him to screw up again, and then we're going to nail his ass for a second trial. That's what I think happened.
To the Egyptian government, dealing with the Egyptian intelligence services and giving them information that they perhaps should not have had. The defense tried to say, no, this was all above board, that it was just trying to help. But John, really a devastating sweep.
So not only did he commit bribery or receiving bribes, now there's a foreign aspect to this. So what Senator Menendez was doing, all right, was he was passing along sensitive information to foreign governments. All right. And he was getting paid handsomely for it. So one of those governments is Egypt, Qatar, another one's Qatar. I don't know if there's any other governments involved in the scam. So they would pay him hundreds of thousands of dollars. They would contribute to his re-election campaigns, possibly illegally. And he would provide information and he would lobby for them in Congress. And he was on the Foreign Relations Committee. So yeah, he was on the Foreign Relations Committee and he got kicked from it. I think he was sort of pushed off from the first time. So I'll get more into that in a bit, all right? So
total victory by the Justice Department, guilty on all 16 counts, 18 counts.
Okay, Witchy, thank you.
Robert Menendez did, said this jury, sell his office for cash and gold. So today, Gold Bar Bob is a moniker that sticks. John, back to you.
All right, Eric Sanders with me here.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here as well, Eric, and we're going to try to get Chad Pergram up as well. Kerry Kupak will give us the legal analysis following this. Any reaction yet from Menendez himself and his team?
Waiting for the updates from our. Let me just give me a second because we have our producers upstairs in the courtroom and seeing if there's any reaction. Jeremy, anything on reaction of the senator? Nothing at the minute. Nothing on that. We expect him potentially to come down here and talk, and his lawyers at least to talk in a press conference or a statement. The clerk right now is reading back the verdict. This really was a very involved trial and very involved verdict sheet. Here is the verdict sheet in which the jurors had to sort through not just various charges relating to Menendez, but also the alleged involvement, now convicted, of those two businessmen and their involvement in this scheme. The FBI doing an amazing job. They even surveilled Menendez and his wife at a restaurant, overhearing what they were talking about when they were meeting with some of the co-conspirators in dealing with this. And of course, when they executed that search warrant in his home, found $480,000 in cash. They said even stuff within his official jacket. As far as those gold bars are concerned, the defense tried to say, well, they were actually his family's gold bars, Mrs. Menendez's gold bars. But the problem with that is the serial numbers on some of those gold bars trace back to one of the businessmen here, showing that it was the businessman who was also convicted with him who bought those gold bars that were stashed in a safe locked in Mrs. Menendez's closet. So Bob Menendez will go down in history as yet another corrupt New Jersey politician, likely to potentially could be expelled from the U.S. Senate, forfeit his office. There's multiple felony conviction. It includes not only a conspiracy, but obstruction of justice, in which he allegedly tried to interfere in an investigation of one of the co-defendants, all for cash and gold bars.
Got it. And
Sandra?
that brings up a lot of questions over his future. Menendez convicted on all 16 counts he faced in his corruption trial. Eric is outside the courthouse there.
So, the obstruction of justice charge apparently came about when he sent a lawyer. All right. So he went to a lawyer trying to prevent himself from getting charged and his associates. So, all right. If you're under investigation or something, in my mind, you have every right to call your lawyer. All right. This is America. You have every right to sit behind your lawyer and have your lawyer there while you're being questioned, or it's your constitutional right. But you don't have the right to interfere in an investigation. All right. So what I don't know, here's what I don't know. Okay. I don't know if the lawyer or Senator Menendez himself decided to lie to the police, lie to the FBI, or actually interfere with the investigation. That would be considered obstruction of justice. So that's not clear to me, but the jury decided there was enough evidence to convict Bob Menendez, Gold Bar Bob, of obstruction of justice. So this is what I know on that's all I know right now on the obstruction of justice charge. So
where this all just went down. Eric, thank you. We'll check back in soon. John?
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get.
So he says on New York News and New Jersey News that he'll resign if jury convicts. We'll see if that happens, but he's going to resign, but we haven't got that news yet. So now I'm seeing in my YouTube feed that senators on the Democratic side are calling him to resign. So let's look at another video. All right. Let's just get a broad spectrum on what's going on. So
Well, guilty on all charges. That's the verdict a New York jury handed down to New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez today.
As Eric Sean reports, the Democratic senator and his two co-defendants have denied any wrongdoing and say the government has tried to criminalize friendships, and they vow to appeal.
I have never been.
of course, isn't that what they all say? They're going to appeal. They did nothing wrong. How many times have we heard that in the true crime community? How many of these criminals, they say, oh, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. How many times have we heard we haven't done it? Or in the political arena, oh, it's a political witch hunt.
Anything but a patriot of my country and for my country. I have never, ever been a foreign agent.
Guilty on all counts, 18 counts.
So foreign agent, what is it actually? So the federal government didn't charge Bob Menendez with treason. All right. So they charged him with bribery. They charged him with 16 counts or whatever. So what I could find. So what I could find here is a law called the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So what is the Foreign Agents Registration Act? F-A-R-A. So the F-A-R-A requires that anyone who acts on behalf of a foreign government must register with the Department of Justice and file regular reports on their activities for that government. And many times they have to say they're a lobbyist. So they would have to say, okay, I'm a lobbyist. I'm registered. Someone else would have to say, oh, I'm a lobbyist. I'm lobbying the White House. I'm lobbying the Senate. I'm lobbying the House of Representatives. It's like a lobbyist, sort of. But apparently, the people doing this violated the Foreign Agents Registration Act and similar laws. So, does Bob Menendez get a pass for violating federal laws and ethics laws? Come on here, people. Come on, you know. So let's continue the video, shall we?
Bribery, extortion, obstruction of justice, wire fraud, conspiracy for honest theft of services. Robert Menendez, a New Jersey Democratic power, senior senator from the Garden State, former chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, a jury here deciding that, yes, he did sell his office. He sold the power of the Senate that he had in Washington, D.C. for $480,000 in cash bribes, as well as 13 gold gold bars found in his wife's closet, a Mercedes-Benz, and other lavish and expensive gifts.
This case has always been about.
So this wasn't all money, all right? So, for example, instead in lieu of money, they would send Senator Menendez on vacation, or they would pay for something he wanted in exchange for services. His services. This is disgusting. All right. This is, I'm so glad that a jury in a Democratic state decided to look beyond party lines and convict this scumbag. All right.
Shocking levels of corruption. This wasn't politics as usual. This was politics for profit.
The jury finding that he acted as a foreign agent of Egypt, as well as Qatar as the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, interfering in U.S. foreign policy for his own personal benefit. It is one of the most.
So he interfered with policy or tried to influence it for the almighty dollar. All right. So he could have put many Americans at risk because he was looking out for Egypt, Qatar, the Middle East, or whatever other country decided to pay him.
Most stunning and devastating corruption cases that we have seen here in New York City in any recent time. A U.S. senator totally convicted on all counts. He faced 16. His two co-defendants, two businessmen who he also now, the jury says, illegally helped, also convicted. As he left, Menendez remained defiant, giving no indication whether or not he will indeed quit his Senate seat. His sentencing will be in October. In New York Federal Court, I'm Eric Shawn, Fox News.
So, yeah, you're right, Witchy, you know. You're absolutely right on that, you know. A foreign agent is any person or entity actively carrying out the interest of a foreign principal while located in another host countries, generally outside the protections offered to those working in their official capacity or a diplomatic mission. Foreign agents may be citizens of the host country. So, or it's lobbying, you know, they can lobby the State Department, lobby, but they have to know that they're who they work for, you know. It's not like you can sit there and say, oh, I'm from Egypt. All right. I'm going to Senator Menendez's office. All right. I'm paying Menendez. And then Menendez doesn't even disclose it. So he was taking money from foreign governments. So Menendez was taking money from foreign governments, and guess what? He didn't even disclose it. So let me read the first corruption allegation, which is on okay, this is not the first one. All right. So his first run-in with controversy was in November 2012, when the news and opinion website Daily Caller published allegations that Menendez had contact with underage prostitutes in the Dominican Republic. The allegations were prompted by Republican Party operatives who arranged for ABC News and the Daily Caller to interview two women who accused Menendez of patronizing prostitutes. ABC News and other news organizations such as the New York Times and the New York Post declined to publish the allegations, viewing them as unsubstantiated and lacking credibility. One accuser stated that she had been paid to falsely implicate Menendez and never met him. The Daily Caller said this woman was not interviewed for its story. Menendez's office called the allegations manufactured by a right-wing blog as a politically motivated smear. On March 18, 2013, Dominican police announced that 3 women had said that they'd been paid $300 to $425 each to lie about having sex with Menendez. So that was the first call to controversy, all right, with this senator. So he was accused of having sex with underage girls in Dominican Republic. So apparently the police announced that some girls were paid to accuse him. All right. So this is so what this does to the prostitution scandal is it's reasonable doubt as to what actually happened. All right. But the only thing that I was able to get, the only evidence I was able to find was that Bob Menendez did travel to the Dominican Republic, and that's all I've been able to find. So there's no evidence that he had sex with underage girls. There's none. All right. So here's the next. So August 27th, 2006, 2 Republican state lawmakers filed an ethics complaint against Menendez, alleging he broke conflict of interest rules when renting property to a non-profit agency that receives federal funds. Menendez helped the agency win designation as a federally qualified health center in 1998. That designation allowed it to receive additional federal grants. Menendez allies said that the organization in question, the North Hudson Community Action Corporation, which provides social services and health care to the poor, and was founded in 1960, had received federal funding for years before Menendez was in Congress, and receives its funding based on mathematical formulas. Menendez said that he rented the property out below market value because he was supportive of its work. The total rent collected over 9 years was over $300,000. So this allegation, these ethics complaints went nowhere, by the way. So it was 2 Republican state lawmakers filed a complaint, which went nowhere against Menendez in 2006. They just didn't agree with something. It was investigated. Nothing came of it. All right. So let me correct something. He wasn't indicted in 2016. It was 2015. Please excuse my So in January of 2013, the FBI agents raided the office of Florida ophthalmologist Solomon Melgden, a close friend and major donor of Menendez. Later that month, a federal grand jury in Miami began investigating Menendez for his role in advocating for Melgen's business interests. It was revealed over the following months that Menendez had paid Melgen nearly $59,000 for 2 private flights to the Dominican Republic in 2010. This raised questions about whether the flights violated Senate ethics rules. It was also found that Melgen's company had contributed more than $950,000 to Menendez's 2012 re-election campaign. Melgen's home was raided again on October 22nd, but he still refused to cooperate with investigators. So this is in 2013. This investigation started with the FBI from a Dr. Melgen. The FBI was investigating, and the road led to Menendez. All right. So if this is true, all right, this is part of his conviction now. So this doctor paid $950,000 to Menendez's 2012 re-election campaign. So that would be election campaign financing fraud, because the most that Dr. Melgen can contribute is $2,500. You know. So, on October 1st, 2015, the United States Department of Justice indicted Menendez and Melgen in United States versus Menendez. The charges against Menendez included bribery, fraud, and making false statements. Okay. According to the indictment, Menendez asked top State Department officials to pressure the Dominican Republic's government to enforce a port security contract that would benefit Melgen's company, while at the same time, Melgen was promising to give $60,000 to Menendez's campaign. So you see, that is bribery. So Menendez was getting bribed, and he was using his office to help this guy who's writing the checks. Prosecutors also charged that Menendez acted as Melgen's personal senator, helping obtain visas for several of Melgen's girlfriends. In return, Menendez was accused of accepting a range of gifts from Melgen, including trips on Melgen's private jet, 3 nights at a 5-star Paris hotel, a round of golf at a private club in West Palm Beach, and access to an exclusive Dominican resort, some of which Menendez allegedly failed to report on his financial disclosure forms. Ooh. So he had a duty to report on his financial disclosure forms, Senator Menendez, and he never did. Wow. Melgen also donated a substantial amount of money to Menendez's political campaigns, and prosecutors said that $750,000 of those contributions were tied to personal benefits Menendez accepted. All right. After his indictment, Menendez voluntarily stepped down as ranking member of the Foreign Relations Committee. So let me see here. So in 2015, Senator Menendez was officially indicted. The investigation started in 2013. So it was a 2-year investigation. So in 2015, after his indictment, Menendez voluntarily stepped down as ranking member of the Foreign Relations Committee. So he resigned. All right. He wasn't expelled from it, because there was one rumor that he was expelled from the Foreign Relations Committee, but I don't know if his colleagues forced him to resign, or what the deal with that was. So, all right. So his trial began on September 6, 2017, before Judge William H. Walls of the United States District Court, District of New Jersey. On November 16, 2017, Walls declared a mistrial due to the jury's inability to reach a verdict on any charges. So on January 31st, 2018, the Justice Department announced it was dropping all charges against Menendez. So, as I said before, the Justice Department said, okay, we need more to go with. So they decided not to pursue another trial. So they were saying, okay, we're going to drop all charges for now. So since they got a mistrial due to jury's inability to reach a verdict, they decided, okay, we're going to take our time on this some more. So this Belgian guy was convicted of 66 counts of healthcare fraud. So in February of 2018, he was sentenced to 17 years in prison. Oh, and guess who commuted his sentence in January 2021? Trump did. Interesting fact. So, in February 2018, the United States Senate Committee on Ethics severely admonished Menendez in a letter writing. The committee found over a 6-year period he knowingly and repeatedly accept gifts of a significant value from Dr. Malgin without obtaining required committee approval, and he failed to publicly disclose these certain gifts as required by Senate rule and federal law. Additionally, while accepting these gifts, you used your position as a member of the Senate to advance Dr. Malgin's personal and business interests. The committee has determined that this conduct violated Senate rules, federal law, and applicable standards of conduct. Accordingly, the committee issued you this public letter of animation and also directs you to repay the fair market value of all impermissible gifts not already repaid. So basically, he got censured, all right, by the Committee on Ethics. And I'm surprised. I'm just going to say this. I'm surprised he wasn't expelled at that point from the Senate. All right, let's just be real. All right, at this point, it was like, so he wasn't expelled. You know, it's okay. Thank you for coming, Witchy. So this guy wasn't expelled from the Senate. All right. I was like, oh dear. You know, it's so 2023. Beginning in late 2022, questions were raised about whether Menendez or his wife allowed allowable gifts from an Edgewater, New Jersey meat provider, and whether an Egyptian firm received unwarranted favorable treatment. Subpoenas unrelated to the latter firm were issued in May 2023 to Nicholas Sacco, the mayor of North Bergen, New Jersey, and others. Investigators found $480,000 in cash and more than $100,000 worth of gold bars at Menendez's home. On September 22nd, 2023, federal prosecutors in Manhattan charged 5 people, including Menendez and his wife Nadine, with corruption In a new indictment, among the allegations in the indictment was that Menendez provided sensitive U.S. government information and took other steps that secretly aided the government of Egypt. Ouch. Damn. The indictment alleges that Menendez used his position to pressure prosecutors in New Jersey who are involved in the cases of his friends Fred Daves and Jose Uribe in exchange for financial gifts from the two men. According to the Senate Historical Office, Menendez is the first sitting senator to be indicted on two unrelated criminal matters. After the indictment, he gave up his position as chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Over the following days, Democratic Party politicians such as New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, New Jersey General Assembly Speaker Greg Copeland, and numerous U.S. senators called for Menendez's resignation. But guess what? He never did. And guess what Menendez did? He cried the race card. He used the race card. It is not lost on me how quickly some are rushing to judge a Latino and push him out of his seat. I am not going anywhere, he says. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said that Menendez has the right to due process and a fair trial. Representative Andy Kim responded that Menendez's refusal to resign, he would run in the Democratic primary for Menendez's seat in the 2024 Senate election for New Jersey. So this is what happened. This is why Menendez. Okay, I'm getting it now. So on November 15, 2023, Murphy's wife, Tammy Murphy, announced that she was running for Menendez's Senate seat. On March 24, 2024, she suspended her campaign. All right. Ooh, okay. So the governor's wife actually ran for the scumbag's Senate seat. All right. So on October 13, 2023, prosecutors filed new charges that Menendez provided sensitive U.S. government information and took other steps that secretly aided the government of Egypt and failed to register as an agent of a foreign power over 4 years. Oh. Senator John Fetterman called on the Senate to expel Menendez. Good for you, sir. So, in a superseding indictment filed on January 2nd, 2024, prosecutors allege that Menendez made positive comments about Qatar in order to help a New Jersey real estate developer secure millions in funding from a member of the Qatari royal family. In exchange, Menendez allegedly received gifts including cash, gold, designer watches, and Formula One tickets. On March 5th, 2024, Menendez and his wife were charged with obstruction of justice after prosecutors alleged that his attorneys had lied about payments two businessmen made on his wife's house and car. Menendez claims the payments were loans he later repaid, but prosecutors claimed they were bribes. The indictment came the week after one of the businessmen, John Uribe, pleaded guilty to charges of fraud and bribery. Oh, thank you for coming, Sabrina. No, this is a true crime one, you know. So jury selection for Menendez's trial began on May 13, 2024. On June 4th, the FBI testified about surveillance they conducted against Menendez. In May 2019, at Morton's, the steakhouse in Washington, D.C., where Menendez and his wife Nadine were dining with three others, including an Egyptian official. Agents also testified about a search that they performed of a safe deposit box in New Jersey Nadine Menendez used, in which they found $80,000 in cash. The defense noted that Menendez himself had never accessed that safe deposit box. On June 6th, the prosecution called former New Jersey Attorney General Gubir Grewal to the stand. Grewal told this court that in September 2019, Menendez invited him to a meeting at Menendez's office in Newark, at which Menendez complained about Grewal's office treatment of Hispanic defendants in a trucking insurance fraud information. When Menendez made clear he was referring to an ongoing case, Grewal ended the meeting and left. So closing arguments took place on July 9th and 10th. Jury deliberations began on July 12th, and on July 16th, the jury convicted Menendez of accepting bribes. So, here we go. So here's the whole history of a corrupt senator who got convicted of 16 counts, is it? $16 counts. So let that sink in, all right? And this case is similar to another case I'm going to quickly refer to real quick. This is very similar to the Hunter Biden scandal back in 2020. When Hunter Biden's laptop was left at a computer store in Delaware, and the laptop was never picked up. So they had tons of messages and correspondence with Hunter Biden doing the same thing as Menendez here. So what Hunter Biden would do was he would take bribes from foreign governments, such as China, Ukraine, among others. There was that company called Burisma. There was an energy company, China Energy. You name it, were paying Hunter Biden services. All right. They were paying Hunter Biden to influence his father, the current president. And a chunk of the change went to Biden. All right. It was a scheme. All right. Biden wasn't exactly mentioned by name, but so the exact same thing happened. It was the same thing. Some of us all saw the some of the contents, the other awful stuff with the prostitutes and the nude photos and all of the other shit. But this is just one conviction in a corrupt swamp that we call Washington. So I just wanted to highlight a case where someone got convicted, all right? So I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. The ones who came, and I'll see everyone later or next time. All right. So, adios.